Thanks for staying with us on USPL. We are still with this special discussion on maiming our mangrove reserve here at the MSSRF Institute. And joining me here are still the researchers and the scientists here. We're going to be talking about mangroves in specific because we've been, it's come up so many times in our first segment itself. Mr. Ramasubramanian, how ecologically important are mangroves? Why is it important to me as a human?
Yeah, mangroves, as you know, has an important function ecologically because it has a lot of adaptations. It can thrive well in the saline environment. So by that, it actually protects the coastal community as well as the coastal land from cyclonic storms, surges, and tsunami, tidal waves if comes.
Right.
It will actually protect as a biosphere.
So it kind of lessens the impact. Is that what you're trying to
Yes,
say?
yeah, it less. The impact will be very less. We can see in our tsunami in 2004 in Kadalur district, because of Pichavaram mangroves, the villages behind the mangroves were protected rather than the villages without mangroves.
All right.
So similar case in Odisha, super cyclone we had in 1999. So mangrove has
So an important system by itself to maintain balance and to maintain a cover of sorts from natural disasters like cyclones and tsunamis. Is there an economic importance as well, that mangroves to us humans?
Yeah, in addition to its protective function, lot of communities depending on the mangrove ecosystem for their livelihoods, especially the marginalized segment. Even among the marginalized segment, women are the more dependent on mangrove. And the recent threats that mangrove ecosystem is facing, the rapid industrialization, urbanization, and also some of the anthropogenic activities is not only threatening the ecosystem, but it also has lot of implications on the livelihoods of the depending communities.
Right. So clearly we are dependent on it ecologically, economically, but the dangerous factor here is that it might just die down soon before we save it ourselves, right? Yeah. Is that also, Dr. Ajay, a kind of a problem we are faced with, the negative impact of urbanization, maybe in a state like Tamil Nadu, where we have that expressway, on the cards, and everybody is saying, there's always a section saying, no, we don't want it because it kind of encroaches on our beautiful beach line.
Yeah, sure. I just want to make it one thing clear that mangroves cannot grow in all along the coastline. I think let's make it clear. I mean, if there is a perception that mangroves can protect the coastline, that is not true. Because the mangroves can grow only in the estuarine regions, that is where a river meets the sea.
Right.
In that backwaters, essentially the mangroves can grow. Because that is a special niche area where they can only grow. But what is happening, but for their survival, they also require a mix of fresh water and the saline water. But due to rapid urbanization or demand for more irrigation, we have constructed large upstream dams in the upper stream of the rivers.
Yes.
So as a result, there is a very less flow of the fresh water it is coming up to mangrove locations, and the saline conditions is increasing in the mangrove area. So as a result, like take Pichavaram for example, last 30-40 years we have lost almost 25% of our mangrove cover. So I think that is one issue where we need to, like my colleague Dr. Selvam can mention about the restoration techniques which we have started developing.
So are maybe then things like a replantation and a regeneration of such systems possible, sir?
At the outset, I want to tell you that I'm not a mangrove expert. Certainly, for a country like India, it means a lot. In the sense that we have a large coastal area, more than 700 kilometers of coastal area, and sea level rise is a critical factor. There are some natural mechanisms for any species to adapt to certain things.
Yes.
The mangrove could only move landwards, if at all, if used in natural mechanisms. But then there is a lot of anthropogenic pressure. There is a limit to how long it could expand.
Absolutely.
That is a very important thing. Other species you could really, go elsewhere and try out, but that's not the case with mangroves. So in that sense, it is, as rightly pointed out, millions of livelihoods are at stake, dependent on mangroves and the marine life which is associated with mangroves. So that becomes critical, and particularly in the climate change scenario, it's going to be a real big issue.
Why will it be, since you are an expert on climate change, if not mangroves?
There are three factors that govern climate change: temperature, precipitation, and sea level rise.
And this has a lot to do with all
A
of
lot
that.
to do with sea level rise.
Right.
And the prediction is around, so far the last century, there is around 0.21 centimeter of sea level rise we witnessed, whereas it is going to be far more stronger in the coming years. So we have reasons to be concerned. Particularly, the islands will be more affected than the plain, because there is no support system for the islands. They're kind of on itself.
Yes.
Whereas the mainland mangroves have far more chances to survive,
Absolutely,
considerably
yes.
speaking.
Yes.
Having said that, also one point I want to mention is the extent of mangroves has improved. If you look into it in the during the 1990 to 99,
Right.
that decade, from 4,200 square kilometers to around 4,600, 800
How are we
square
now
kilometers.
compared to
I
that?
think there are certain, this is an important area to focus. There's no doubt that a lot of work has to be done on that, and particularly the conservation point of view,
All right.
take into considerations regulatory mechanisms, and it's very, very important. And also the awareness part is very critical.
Right. Yeah, that's an important point also that I want to bring in, awareness of such. The wealth and, the value of mangroves, is it properly understood by the people of today, by, people who go to such areas? Do they know the actual wealth of it?
Certainly, they don't know. General public doesn't know about the value of mangroves, and that is why we have to promote this ecotourism. The mangrove forest. People should visit mangrove forest right from school to the colleges. Then we can promote awareness of mangroves.
All right. So ecotourism also, there's something that's come in maybe as an awareness factor, right? I remember Dr. Swaminathan saying that, even in terms of nuclear reactors, mangroves help as a bioshield. Looking at it, from the perspective of the Japan episode where that nuclear reactor went berserk, we have nuclear reactors here in Tamil Nadu, Kalpakkam, Kudankulam. So is it vital that we have these installations of mangrove systems as soon as we can? Because if a cyclone or a tsunami is to happen, we'd rather be careful.
As Ajay said, that we should be, we should not be thinking that we can create mangroves everywhere.
Yes,
So,
it should be
yeah,
viable.
Yeah, it may not be viable. But there are other bioshields, non-mangrove bioshields. You can develop non-mangrove bioshields around the Kudankulam mangrove, Kudankulam nuclear power station.
Right.
Like in Kalpakkam also, both we can have both mangroves as well as the non-mangrove bioshield. So that we can see how far we have to assess how far it will give protection to the nuclear plants. So some kind of evaluation should be there.
All right. So
scientific
clearly, some research has to be done before something
Yes.
like this comes into
Yes,
place, right?
yes, yes.
And I'm sure that some of you have already thought about it while doing your own research. I want to get into the last segment and explore our own role as as a man. Where does our role really come in terms of protecting the mangroves that we have, or maybe even when it comes to regeneration or replantation in the likely conditions, okay? And even the role of technology, maybe all of that and some final concluding thoughts on the show. And that's up in the last segment of You Special. Do stay with us.